Here in 2023, it feels like some PC components have absolutely skyrocketed in price. And this leads me to the question, do you think PC gaming is getting way too expensive here in 2023? Let me know down in the comments because I want to know what you lot think about this. Because I know a lot of PC gamers are starting to get pretty fed up with the outrageous pricing and the ridiculously bad and terrible unoptimized spaghetti code ports we're getting on PC these days. Like, look at some of the AAA games that have launched this year, like Jedi Survivor, Forspoken, and there's a few others which I don't know off the top of my head, but them absolutely, let's say, not great ports. And I feel if a person's just looking for a gaming system and their budget's quite small, I'd just recommend them to get something like an Xbox Series X or a PS5, because it's a way better value. You're going to be getting quite a few years out of it, and you shouldn't have any problems running games on them because they are dedicated gaming consoles. And this just makes me miss the times of £500, £400 budget gaming PCs which could still play AAA games, because I did do a build back in 2017. It cost me £500 and it pretty much ran everything. It had an i5 6500 and a 1050 Ti, and it ran pretty well. But now in 2023, good luck building a reasonable PC for £500 with all new parts. The biggest offenders when it comes to high prices is GPUs, because they are just ridiculously overpriced at the minute. Nvidia still thinks it's 2021 with the 40 series pricing. But there is light at the end of the tunnel. There are some components which are absolutely dirt cheap, maybe even the cheapest that they've ever been, and that's SSDs and DDR4 memory. They're just incredibly cheap at the minute. More on them in a sec. Let's get the worst one out of the way with first, and that is graphics cards. Ever since 2020, GPU pricing has been up in the air, especially with new graphics cards. In 2021, we had the crypto mining fiasco, and now Nvidia still thinks the market is exactly the same, judging by the way they're pricing the RTX 40 series. Just look at the RTX 4080, that thing costs £1,200 MSRP here in the UK, where the RTX 3080 was supposed to go for £649, albeit it was never at MSRP, especially in 2021, but that is not the point. I strongly believe the crypto mining boom is one of the biggest factors which is leading to very high GPU prices right now, and it just shows that Nvidia is just totally out of touch with consumers. And even I, before the RTX 4090 reveal, I just bought my RTX 3080 FE and I thought I would have regretted it. Spoiler alert, I definitely don't. And the RTX 4080 is just an example of how badly the RTX 40 series is priced. Look at the RTX 4070 Ti for instance. That cost £800 when the RTX 3070 Ti was supposed to cost £550. So where are Nvidia getting these price jumps from? This amount of price increase is definitely not down to inflation, let me tell you that. Over on Team Red, their GPU prices don't seem too bad if I'm honest. Their highest end offering, the 7900 XTX, is not too bad. It costs £1,000 here in the UK, which is still a lot of money, don't get me wrong. You could buy a car for that much, but it's a lot cheaper than the RTX 4090 and it performs very well compared to it. It's not going to perform anywhere near as well in ray tracing and stuff like that. So if you don't care about ray tracing and you just want to play games at 4K with basically ultra settings on this graphics card, the 7900 XTX is going to be fine for you. In terms of AMD's older RDNA 2 GPUs, they have had massive price slashes recently, with graphics cards like the 6950 XT costing for just over £60. I would have had one by now. Costing just over £650 here in the UK, which is not bad at all, albeit it is an older generation GPU, and when the stock goes, the stock's gone. I know I might seem like a madman here, but I think motherboards have also been creeping up in price a lot too. Jay's 2 Cents did make a video on this, and this is sort of where I'm getting the inspiration from for motherboards. But thinking about it, I think motherboards are actually getting very overpriced. Like, take a look at this MSI B450 Tomahawk. This was one of the most popular AM4 motherboards, and it only cost around £130, £120 here in the UK. The B650 version of it costs over £200. That's how much the same motherboard in the same chipset sort of series family has gone up in price. Yes, you are getting a lot of features now, like PCIe Gen 5, I believe the new one support, and the B450 Tomahawk only supported PCIe Gen 3 because it was a B450 chipset. You're still paying a lot of money for a motherboard. And when it comes to high-end boards, this problem is magnified even further. There's motherboards out there which cost more than the highest end CPU in the stack, so that's more than the 13900KS and more than the 7950X, which I think is just ridiculous. Why should your motherboard cost more than the CPU you're putting in it? Not everything has skyrocketed in price though. As I mentioned, SSDs and DDR4 memory has massively been reduced in price. Take a look at this Kingston drive which I bought about a week ago now. It literally cost me £26 after a voucher. Yes, that is 1 terabyte of NVMe Gen 4 storage. Yes, it's not the fastest drive in the world, but I paid £26 and yeah, I'm not complaining at all. I did have a £12 voucher on Amazon, so this thing would have cost about £38, but still less than £40 for 1 terabyte of NVMe storage is absolutely incredible. When it comes to DDR4 RAM, you can get a kit of 16 gigabytes of CL16 3200 MHz for less than £40 these days. I saw one going on eBuyer for just over £30 here in the UK, which is a kit of 2 8GB sticks, so you'd be able to run dual channel as well. I think this is absolutely incredible. So if you're building a budget AM4 system or an older Intel system, now is the time to buy your RAM. Also, if you're looking at DDR5, I can happily say that the prices are looking a lot more stable as what they were when 12th Gen came out. This is because for 16GB of 6000 MHz CL30 memory, you can pick this up for around £60. Yes, it's not as cheap as DDR4. Obviously, it is a newer standard of memory and it's not as available yet. But prices are looking very reasonable for DDR5 as well, which is a good thing. As you know, I'm a big fan of the used market, and if you're comfortable with buying used graphics cards, I'd say this is where you should shop. Because I've seen graphics cards like the RTX 3080 Ti, which is an absolute monster of a GPU still, don't let anyone tell you otherwise. I saw one going for £550 on eBay, so yeah, if you want a killer deal of a GPU, shop used, because you'd just be getting way better value than buying new. And even if you're looking for something a bit lower end, like this GTX 1660 Ti, I paid just over £110 for this one, which I think is pretty reasonable for a graphics card which can still play pretty much any game at 1080p, and it's also good for streamers as well. So what can you as an individual do about the current PC component pricing crisis, I'm going to call it? And as an individual, unless you've got absolute massive power to manipulate the market, I don't think you can do a big lot about it. I don't think you can do a whole lot about it. If you're dead set on getting a brand new graphics card and you don't care too much about ray tracing, just buy an older RDNA 2 graphics card. They've had massive price slashes here in the UK recently, and I believe in North America as well, with the 6950 XT costing around £600 now. And if you're looking for something a bit lower in the stack, the 6600 costs just over £200 brand new now, and I believe the 6800 is around £330, somewhere along those lines. So good value can be found on the AMD side of graphics cards, because Nvidia can basically just command any price for one, because they're Nvidia and the Nvidia mindshare is massive. So if you buy new and you don't care about ray tracing, AMD is definitely the way to go. Also, just simply not buying a new graphics card does also work. Look at the RTX 4070 for instance. No one's been buying that and it's already below its MSRP, and I still think it's a bit overpriced if I'm honest, because it is a 70 series card. So it should cost around £400 at the absolute most, but we are seeing some graphics cards come down in price thanks to people not buying them, so good on you lot for not buying into all of this Nvidia hype. And the third option for graphics cards, which I believe is the best option, and that is buying used. I went over buying used previously in this video, and I've done it in pretty much every single one of my videos talking about a topic like this, but buying used is the best way to get value. A lot of people will upgrade their graphics cards like every generation because there's just a ton of 30 series being sold on eBay at the minute, so you can find some really good deals there if you shop around. just check the feedback and look over the graphics card. Make sure it's not scammy in any way. I did post a video on how to buy a used graphics card, so if you're looking to buy used, watch that video and you should have a good grasp of it. And arguably the best way to save money when it comes to PC gaming is just don't upgrade your PC. If you're happy with your PC's performance, why even bother upgrading it? I know I'm not the best person to talk to about this because I kind of just upgrade as of when I want to, I guess. I don't really need to, but I want to, if that makes sense. Also, when it comes to motherboards, just get the features that you need on the motherboard, because AMD's higher end X670 and Intel's higher end Z790, pretty much all of the motherboards on that chipset have pretty decent power delivery. So don't go with like some Aorus Extreme motherboard, which costs around like £600-700. If you're not going to be using the extra features, just shop for a motherboard which has the features you need and just call it a day. And I'll be honest as well, most people won't need a higher end chipset motherboard either. So if you're on AMD and you've got like a 7700X, just get a B650. Unless if you need something specifically on the X670 motherboard, then go for that, of course. So I've gave you all recommendations in this videos, but what am I going to be doing with the high PC prices? Have I got any upgrades planned or anything like that? And the answer to that is maybe. The one upgrade my PC does need is potentially an upgrade to 64GB of RAM, and that's because my timelines in Premiere Pro are getting pretty complex now, and 32 gigs is cutting it pretty close. But this is more of a professional upgrade in my opinion. It's an upgrade to my workflow, so it is an upgrade I'll need to do sometime, probably sooner rather than later. Other than that though, it does have a small CPU bottleneck in games, but I'd rather the PC work pretty well when I'm actually working and editing, instead of just gaming where I'm losing a couple of frames because the IPC of my CPU just can't keep up. But other than that though, with the PC's performance, I'm very happy with it. It does everything I need it to do, mainly without issues. Sometimes there's issues, but that could just be Premiere Pro if I'm honest. So yeah, I'm happy with it. So I'm not going to be getting an RTX 4090 anytime soon, or upgrading the CPU platform anytime soon, anything like that. To loop back to the question at the start of the video, do I personally think that PC gaming is getting way too expensive? And the answer is yes, it definitely is, thanks to mainly Nvidia and motherboard manufacturers. But there is light at the end of the tunnel, like I said, because SSD prices and RAM prices are very cheap right now, and I don't think there's been a better time to upgrade these. So if you like this video, like it, stay subscribed for more tech content, and I'll catch you in the next one.